I'm Bob Stewart, at ActiveBob. You can find me on Twitter if you want to talk to me. I'm going to be the judge, I guess. Or maybe it'd be better if I'm like the prosecutor, right? I'm laying out the case for these things, but you guys are going to be the jury. I'm going to ask you, hey, is this something you would actually use in your business? And I think this would be the criteria for me. So you guys get a lot of shiny objects pushed your way, and I guess apps for anybody are really just a lot of shiny objects, but as it relates to your real business, when you're looking at potentially incorporating something, I mean, I think there's some things that you need to evaluate, and the first one would be, does this solve a need? And, you know, I was just recently at the Inman Connect Real Estate Conference, and every year that's a place where you can go and see some of the new cool tools and apps that are coming out in the real estate space. And the very first thing I'm always thinking as I look at some new technology or some new thing that promises to like change the way you do business or generate a bunch more business for you is I'm looking at it from the perspective of, does it actually solve a need that you have? Because if it creates like something new that was never a need for your business before, maybe it's not something that you actually need. So is it actually solving a need that you currently have in your business? Then, you know, hey, would it actually save you time? Because if you're already solving the need that this, you know, new app or new website or new thing purports to be solving, and you're already solving that with something else, well then, hey, does this new app, like, will it make you more efficient? Will it actually help you save time over what you're already doing? And then would you actually use it, right? So even if it does solve a need for you, and you were pretty sure if you used it, it would save you time, then you actually kind of have to look inside yourself and go, okay, but I know me, right? I've been doing things the same way for the last 10 years, the last 5 years I've been in the business. Would I actually use this thing? So those are kind of the criteria that I want you guys to think about and that I'll be thinking about as I let you know my opinion after you give me yours. Okay, so let's jump in here. We'll start with the first app. And this one, so some of these apps are just available like for the iPad, or some of them are just available for the Apple iOS, or some of them are available for Android and iOS. This one happens to be available for both Android and Apple's operating system. Any.do, and what Any.do is it's part to-do list, part task manager. It's pretty simple, okay? So if you're using task apps or maybe your calendar, this thing can help you kind of keep those things focused, right? One of the things I like about this app as I was playing with it that I don't necessarily have in just like a general calendar app would be this someday feature. So maybe a list of tasks that I don't necessarily have a deadline on when I want to finish them, but there's something I know I want to do in my business, right? So I might have this as a someday task, and when I've got a little bit of free time, I can go in there and see, okay, hey, what are the tasks that I'm, you know, hoping to get done, but I don't necessarily have a date on these things. And this thing will integrate with your calendar, so it will go in and pull out any tasks that you already have in your calendar. It's pretty simple, okay? But if you're not using any kind of a task thing at this point, or any kind of a manager on your phone, this would be something that you could potentially use. So I guess the question becomes, do you see yourself using like a simple to-do list task manager? This thing, you know, if you had other people on your, let's say you had a team, you wanted to be able to assign tasks to other folks, this allows you to assign tasks to other folks. Of course, everybody else would have to have the Any.do app on their phone as well. It's a free app, so it wouldn't be too tough to get your team to download this whole thing. Let's see what you guys think. Like, where do I launch my polls? My polls aren't there. Oh no. You guys, can you see the polls? Oh, boo. All right.
No, there's no polls with this webinar.
I know there's polls. Okay, so I guess we're just going to do this. You guys jump into the questions area. Like, would you use Any.do? Right? So this is one of the apps. Market leader in their thing says, hey, it's a great app. You should use this thing. What do you guys think? Jump in the questions area and let me know, like, would you do this? So John Paul says, yeah, I might use this to help me return phone calls. One of the things I have trouble with is remembering when my next phone call is that I need to return. So this would be a simple thing. He could go in there and just say, hey, call back Jenny. You might use it, right? It pops up notifications on your phone, but just straight up knows. Probably not, because I'm currently using the Task Me Out app. So here was my take on this particular app. I wouldn't use this, okay? I use my calendar. I'm not going to learn something new for something that I'm already doing. So if you're somebody that you have nowhere that you currently are using tasks, right? You're not currently putting them on your calendar, on your phone, or on your computer, or then this might be something you would consider, right? It's really simple to learn. I mean, I learned it in 5 minutes. It's pretty easy to use, but I can't see myself doing it because I already have something. So for me, there's a need there. But look, I'm not going to take the time to learn something new. I don't know that this is going to save me any time over how I'm already solving that particular need, right? It's redundant with your calendar. I agree to a lot of you guys. So it looks like the consensus for most of you guys is no, I'm probably not going to use this. And David brings up a nice point that one of our apps we'll talk about here in a minute already has this feature in it, so why would I use AnyDo, which basically replicates my calendar. So if you're already doing it, probably not a good. There's a couple folks that said, I might use this for some small little things. All right, the second one. So we don't have, gosh, I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm not sure how we got away with those polls not showing up. Interesting. Okay. ReCalc is the next one. So there's a free version of this, and then there's a $1.99 version. From the best I could tell, the only difference is ads. Okay, so if you're in the free version, at the bottom of your app, they're going to serve an ad up to you, just like you guys have probably seen in, a variety of the free apps out there. This one's available for the Android and the iPhone, and it's essentially a loan calculator, right? You guys have all seen a loan calculator. Maybe some of you haven't seen one for a while, but they have these things on our phone now. It's pretty simple to use, okay? I mean, granted, I was on the math team, so I might be a little bit more from, okay, that's my, can you really brag about having been on the math team? I think so, darn it. It wasn't too hard for me to get in there and realize, hey, when I hit in 250,000, then I'm going to put amount, right? I put the interest in, I'll put the term in, and it will kick out payments, and it'll give me on the right-hand side there, you see like a little column view that just shows you, breaks everything down for you. You can add in taxes and insurance. It's also got the table view, which will show somebody like the amortization of a loan, so it'll show them, how little interest they're paying up front as the loan begins to mature, and then how a lot of the interest gets paid in the back. You guys have all seen these tables. So I guess my question to you guys then becomes, all right, calculator, like, would you use this thing? So what's the need? The need becomes, I need to show my clients how much this house is going to cost them. Are you already doing this? So you guys check in for me here. Are you already using maybe, somebody says, I have a calculator, but it might save him time. So Robert says, hey, maybe instead of pulling my calculator out of my pocket, if I just had this app on my phone, it might be a little bit more accessible, a little bit easier to get to. Mike says, hey, my website has something like this, so I might be more inclined to go to my website on my phone. A lot of you guys already have this. I guess Jerry says, hey, I've got one of these from Chicago Title, so an app. So if you don't, it looks like if you guys don't have one, you would use it. And in fact, Angie says, hey, I use that one. Here would be my thing. This would be something, especially the free version, like why not have this on your phone, right? But I think up front for your clients, isn't this something that they kind of should be doing with the loan officer at first? Now I can see, look, if they're approved for, let's say they're approved for a $250,000 loan, right? So they kind of have an idea that, look, at the end of the day, my payment's going to be, $1,157 on $250,000. But what if it was a $240,000 house? So I can definitely see a time Where this app, you'd be able to pull it out real quick. They've got an idea of what they'd be paying at $250, but they want to see, wow, maybe they have to offer $260. What would that payment look like? I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys have had a need for this at some point if you've ever been out with buyers. Yeah, and Robert says, I kind of agree with Robert. Absolutely. Why not with the free version? And, I don't think that your client would mind seeing a little banner ad down at the bottom as you're showing them, your payment's going to be $1,230 if you decide to offer $260,000, which, is what you think they're going to need to offer in order to get this house because it's a hot one. It's going to go quick. So I think we can all agree, there's a need for this, but again, if I've already got my calculator that I'm used to and I know how to use it, I don't know that I'm going to necessarily end up switching. All right, so Evernote is, somebody mentioned Evernote earlier and said, you know what, Evernote has a task manager in it now. Evernote. So Evernote is the ultimate notebook. I really wish that I had my polls here, because my poll here was, yes, I'd use Evernote. No, I wouldn't use Evernote. And good luck trying to rip my yellow Post-it notes from my cold dead hands, right? Evernote is essentially the ultimate notebook. Like, you can put everything and anything into Evernote to keep track of it. And in fact, it's a pretty robust system, and there's definitely a learning curve, I think, to using Evernote. And so one of the main kind of drawbacks I can see for people using Evernote is you're already used to your system for keeping track of things, but almost to a person, the people that I've heard that have switched over and have started using Evernote, but have taken the time to actually understand the full capacity of what it does, have been the people that say, I can't live without this thing. And this is one of the most popular productivity apps that Apple has ever put out. If you're not currently using Evernote, I would suggest that maybe you give it a shot. But again, it becomes a matter of how do you currently kind of keep track of everything that you're doing throughout the course of a day. It does everything, you guys. Like, you can pull videos in, you can pull audio clips in. Like, if you were talking to a client or maybe making notes as you went through a house about the things that they liked and the things that they didn't like during a particular showing, like, you can keep those notes in the house. You could keep, the different properties that you've taken. Like, you could literally create a file for each one of your clients inside of Evernote with every and any kind of note that you could think of coming from the internet. So links, just text notes, audio, video, pictures, anything that you want can be stored inside of Evernote. So I guess maybe a better question here, because this is a pretty popular app, right? Like, I don't think Market Leader in this white paper was bringing us anything here that, like, especially with this one, that we hadn't heard of, right? I would imagine most of you guys have heard of Evernote. David says, yeah, I use Evernote in conjunction with Dropbox, and he says, I can't live without these things. He's using them, it sounds like every day in his business. So he's, some of his bigger files he's posting to Dropbox. He has an ability to be able to access them through Evernote, or at least have links in there. Evernote's a free version, and I think for what most people use it for, you could probably get away with the free version, especially if you're using it in combination with Dropbox. Their premium version allows you to have a little bit more storage space within the app or within the Evernote cloud. It allows you to do like some more, basically the storage is the big thing, but like David does, I would imagine, and he could probably confirm this for me, I would imagine he's using the free version if he's using it in conjunction with Dropbox, which is an app that wasn't even on this list. But if you don't have Dropbox and you're needing to pull up big files, Dropbox would be a great app that gosh, if I was making that white paper list, I probably would have put Dropbox on there if you guys aren't using it already. Angie says, does it sync with Dropbox? David, you tell me, buddy, does Evernote sync with Dropbox? I'm pretty sure it does. It has the ability to kind of go in, and what you might end up be doing is you're leaving like a link in there to a Dropbox file or something. He says that he doesn't use it with Dropbox. Okay, so he just uses it for his notes. But you know what? I bet you if he had a file that was related to a client or something that was over in Dropbox, he could definitely at least have the link stored in there so that he could pull that up very easily. Yeah, there's an Android version for Evernote, Mike, you bet. So I guess what do you guys, if you're not using something right now to kind of keep all of your notes and your stuff in one place, where would people be doing this if they're not doing it with Evernote? You do it like in the notes. I mean, I'm really bad at keeping a bunch of notes on like the actual notes pad on my iPhone, and they're not very searchable, and then it's hard to kind of find, and I end up going through a bunch of them. I've started using Evernote in about the last month, and it's gotten me a lot more organized in terms of trying to find things that I need. Here's one piece of advice for Evernote if you do get started with it. Make sure that you tag things. And you have to get a really good system for how you tag things because it makes it a heck of a lot easier for you to find the stuff that you're going through. Yeah, Robert says handwritten is how he's doing it, and then he puts sad. So, yeah, right? I mean, and you know that, Robert, but again, it becomes the question of if I was to start using Evernote, and you know yourself, like, would you actually use it? There's some cool, they have like a voice feature in there where you can put notes in via voice. So there is some kind of easy hacks that can help you kind of make that transition from the handwritten notes. But I can just imagine or think about what my life was like 10 years ago, and I was the king of sticky notes. I had them everywhere. My iPhone and the notepad option has made that a little bit less hectic. Evernote's made it even less hectic. So David says he uses email now, and he puts everything from Evernote from his email into his Evernote. And Evernote actually creates an email address that you can email to. And so when David signed up for Evernote, he got an email address. And now anything that he wants to send as a note, he'll send that from his email, and he can email it in. And you can even put like tags, and with the subject line, you can do some different things to get your notes into the right places inside of Evernote when you email them in. Okay, the next one, Taskrabbit. So here's what Taskrabbit is. It's basically a site, or it's a network, and this is not just an app. You can access it from the app. It's also a website, and it's a network of people that will do tasks for you. And in the cities that are, and so it's relatively new. I mean, it's been around for a couple of years, but it's starting to kind of take off a little bit. In the cities and kind of the suburbs around the ones that I've got at the bottom of the screen there, so San Francisco, Boston, LA, Orange County, New York City, Chicago, Seattle, Portland, Austin, and San Antonio. Now, granted, a bunch of you guys aren't going to be in those cities. I get that. If you are, the full kind of power of TaskRabbit comes to life, and you can essentially go on TaskRabbit. You can say, I have a task. So let's say it was a real estate task, right? I've got a mailer that I'm doing, and I have 1,000 envelopes that I need stuffed. You can go on to TaskRabbit and you can say, this is my job, and this is what I'm willing to pay for it, and you can float that out there, and you can get responses from people. And what TaskRabbit claims, and this is one of those things, hold on, give me a second, sorry. Ooh, I need a drink. What TaskRabbit claims is that they monitor and they weed out the people that are actually responding to these tasks. So if you're in the handyman thing and you need somebody to come over and fix the caulking in your bathtub, supposedly TaskRabbit has screened these folks so that the guy that shows up is going to actually know what he's doing. Shopping and delivery, right? Like you could have somebody go down and get your groceries for you, and you're willing to pay them $15, and so it's pretty cool, especially if you're in one of these areas where the in-person, but there's a lot of stuff that can be done remote, and so the remote coverage can happen anywhere, right? Because if somebody can do it for you on your computer, they can do it from anywhere, right? You don't have to be in one of these cities. So I guess the question, would you guys use this thing? Like, would you ever see yourself going on there and just randomly hiring somebody to do tasks for you? And it could virtually be anything, right? It could be all the way from stuff in my flyer or stuff in my envelopes to creating a flyer for me to literally coming in and fixing my toilet or picking up my groceries. What do you guys think? Is this no? Probably not. No. Okay, so okay, I would use this one. I would totally use this one. I'm a decent enough handy guy, but man, I hate grocery shopping. Like literally, if I got to unload my grocery shopping on somebody else, I think I would do it. And you know where I can really see this. How many of you guys use a virtual assistant? Like I think the reason a lot of agents don't use a virtual assistant is because what ends up happening is you have to keep them busy, right? And a lot of these virtual assistant companies, and for good reason, will go out there and say, look, you have to use 20 hours of our service every week, or you have to use X number of hours a month, or something like that. And you don't always know or aren't always able to commit to saying, yeah, I've got enough work for them to be able to do that. But if you could on a task by task basis go out there and say, look, I need help with some of this stuff. Angie's telling me that Tim Ferriss, author of the 4-Hour Workweek, is one of the angel investors in Taskrabbit, and that would make sense, right? I mean, a major concept in that book is delegating the things that aren't necessarily money makers in your business. I mean, that's the same, the big agents that get to using these virtual assistants, and when you end up hiring an assistant, a lot of what you're doing is delegating those tasks in your business that don't ultimately make you money, right? I had an interview a couple of weeks ago with Dave Liniger, the founder of RE/MAX, and one of the things that really stuck with me about how he was able to build up the RE/MAX empire is he said very early in his career he got rid of every task on his plate that wasn't something that made him money, or that at the end of the day led to his ability to make money in his business. And the TaskRabbit's one of those things that, and a lot of us, you start out your day and you've got all these tasks, and you tackle kind of the ones, you go pick up the dry cleaning, and you do these things, and at the end of the day you feel like you've accomplished something, but maybe you could have been focused on your business and had somebody else accomplishing those kind of more menial tasks for you. So it's kind of funny because there's some absolute like no's in here. No, like with no explanation. I think that just means, look, I wouldn't trust somebody to handle that stuff. I think with TaskRabbit it would become one of those things where once you found somebody that was willing to do your shopping and you knew they were going to get it right, it'd be a heck of a lot easier to go back to them the second time to do it. And as you started to outsource some of these things and you knew they were getting handled properly, right, you would be more inclined to go back and allow them to do it again. So TaskRabbit, kind of a cool little idea. And I didn't use TaskRabbit, but I went on there and I really looked at that. They've got a whole review section, and when you put a task out, you're getting more than one person responding and saying, I'm willing to do this task. You can go in there and check their reviews, and it's a pretty cool little app. And I could definitely, from a time-saving perspective, it's not a money-saving perspective, right? Because you're paying for people to do these things, but from a time-saving perspective, heck yeah, you're going to save some time if you ended up using TaskRabbit. But again, it would probably be a matter of finding people inside of that network that you knew were going to get the things done the way you wanted them done. Okay, so CamScanner is the next one, and there is a whole variety of apps out there like this one. TurboScan and Scanner Pro are some of the other ones. CamScanner has a free version. They've also got a $4.99 a month version. Basically what this app does is it allows you to create PDFs from your smartphone. So, you're out in the field, you've got a contract, okay, your clients signed the contract, right? You've met them, you're still doing your contracts by paper, I guess. You're not using DocuSign, or you meet your clients in the field, they sign the paper, you want to get this thing back to your admin person or back to your office so that they can get it ready to send over to the listing agent. You're out in the field, you just pull your smartphone out, take some pictures of the actual forms that were signed, it turns them into a PDF, and you can kind of get the process started while you're out in the field, right? CamScanner. Look, as a free version, like, why wouldn't you have this thing on your phone, right? Has there ever been, I've used this in the last week, ever been a time where you had something you had to get, like for receipts? I use this thing a lot for my receipts. Right, I should be using something else, but CamScanner is easy enough. I pull it out real quick, boom, I take a picture of it. When I do it the other way, like through my app, it takes me 10 minutes, and I like to come back later and kind of do that stuff on my computer. I don't, I use this, but I don't necessarily know that I'm saving myself time. And there may be other facets where the same thing is applicable. So CamScanner, like, would you guys use just a straight up have it, never used it? Yeah, right. I have it because it's free. I never use it because do you guys actually do that? Like when you're out in the field with a contract, like don't you have enough time to just get that thing back to your office like manually in your hands? Um, like do you feel more comfortable putting it on a scanner to actually scan it in there? You feel like you're getting like higher quality or something? These things are getting to the point where taking a picture from your phone is as high a quality as it would be when you take it back and you lay it on your scanner itself. And these things will go in there and they'll fix the edges and straighten the thing out, and they're pretty slick now. Yeah, Chris says I use Genius Scan. There's a bunch of these apps, and so from the white paper, CamScanner is the one that they talked about. I don't even know that that's the best one in the field. So Christy's not going to switch to CamScanner, right? She's using Genius Scan. If you're using TurboScan or Scanner Pro, it's going to be the same thing. But if you're like Brad, he says, hey, I have this thing. I've just never used it. I've never found a need for it in my business, but he figured, hey, maybe one day the need will arise. Yeah, Mike says, hey, it's a good idea if you're always misplacing or losing your receipts. That's me. I mean, I've gotten to the point now where I just know myself well enough to know that if I think I put my receipt in my bag and I'm going to be able to find it later, I'm not. Right? And I do a bunch of traveling for work, and you guys as agents, you got a bunch of write-offs and things that you're trying to keep straight. Not a bad little app to have in your repertoire. Okay, so PDF Expert was the next one they mentioned on the list, and this one costs. Okay, it's going to be $9.99. And one of the fun things for me in going through and reviewing these apps is I got the company to pay for these, so I now have PDF Expert on my phone. Okay, and you can do anything with PDFs on the go. Right now, what exactly would you be doing with PDFs on the go? Well, you can fill them out. So if you have a PDF that has fields in it or radio buttons that you can push or those kinds of things, you can fill it out. You can make annotations on it. Now from an iPhone, and I was playing around a lot with this in the last couple of days, annotations are hard from the iPhone. From an iPad, it's a little bit easier. The screen's bigger. It's easier for you to use your finger on there and make notes and do those kinds of things. It's challenging on the iPhone. Like maybe I just have fat fingers. But PDF Expert allows you to do anything with a PDF that you could do on your computer, but basically from your iPhone or your iPad or your Android device. Here's the thing though, in terms of like a need for you in the field, do you guys ever do any of you ever get out there and go, man, I wish I could have done something with this PDF that I can't do? If you have that problem, you should have PDF Expert in your business. Again, I'm just not 100% sure that this is a problem that actually exists for you guys. Like, are you out there thinking, man, I wish I could have made a note on this PDF that got sent to me? I just don't know. You guys know, right? Like, I didn't think so either, Robert. Robert says, no, this is not something that I would need. Now, Angie says, PDF Expert plus Dropbox saves me time and lets me send contracts on the spot. She agrees the iPad is the best way to use this thing. So she's able to, pull contracts in from Dropbox, fill them out, and then send them out. Is that so? DocuSign, I think for some of you guys would be another way that you could do this. He says the stylus is a great thing. Mike uses a stylus, which it eliminates my fat finger. Okay, she said, Angie says, I use PDF Expert. I've never once used the annotation notes feature on it. But I could see, let's say you're out there, somebody sends you a contract, right? You're busy, you're on the go. You want some changes made to the contract. So, I mean, this would be something if you had an admin, right? That you circle up some changes, you make some annotations, you send it back to your admin. You say, hey, could you make the fixes on this? Or maybe you make the annotations and the notes on PDF Expert for yourself for later, and then when you get back to your computer, you actually make the changes into the contract itself. Or maybe you even have an app that allows you to make the changes to the contract. Again, if you've already found a way to kind of deal with this, I don't necessarily know that PDF Expert's going to be for you, but if this is a problem you've ever thought on your phone, man, I wish I could have filled that out without my computer, PDF Expert, right? It's a $10 investment, and Angie's using it enough, I think, where she feels like she's gotten her investment out of the $10. Okay, this is, I don't know what is the 6th or 7th app from this white paper. Okay, auto SMS. And so I'm going in there and I'm like, all right, I'm going to download this thing. And what I come to find out is this is only available for the Android. Now, I don't have an Android phone, I have an iPhone. So I didn't get to play with this one. But what does auto SMS do? It's free, first off. Okay, it allows you to automate missed call and text responses to go back via text. So if somebody calls in, you're out at a showing, you've got something set up in this auto SMS that just switches on to showing, and it responds to their text message and says, hey, sorry, I can't respond to your text right now. I'm currently showing a client a house. I'll get back to you soon. Or somebody calls you, they leave a message, it will automatically generate a text message back to them saying, hey, thanks, just got your message, I'm driving, I'll give you a call back when I get to the office. Like, whatever you set that autoresponder up to be is what they're going to get. So I couldn't do this on the iPhone, right? I was really excited. I'm like, oh, sweet. It also has the ability to set like text messages up for the future. So I'm thinking, I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to set up a text message to send my mom that scares her or something, right? I'm going to be like, hey, that salmon smells really good that you're cooking, even though I didn't know she was cooking salmon. Like, I don't know. Why would you set up a text message in advance? For me, text messages, I need something now from somebody. Like, I'm not thinking in terms of what I'm going to be texting somebody tomorrow, right? Text message for me is like instant communication. So I'm just not sure. Like, I can see it being a good thing for the phone. Like, would you guys use this? Would you set up autoresponders for phone calls that you get, or for text messages you get, or think about setting up text messages in the future? So as I'm looking at this app, I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be an iPhone app that does this. And so I went in there, and there was a couple of iPhone apps that had pretty low ratings. And then I thought back to something that I saw at Inman Connect. And look, I don't have any affiliation with these guys other than I've talked to Lyle, who's the founder of Better Voicemail, in depth. We had about an hour-long conversation about this product, and I just think this is a great product. So the auto SMS thing, it serves a really small kind of function in my business, right? It can respond when somebody calls me or sends me a text message. If you're really looking for a solution that does that, maybe you should be taking a look at your broader phone solution, and Better Voicemail may just be that. And basically what Better Voicemail allows you to do is take your phone calls to the next level. And I know that's kind of cliche, but it really does. Like, you can set up phone trees with this thing. So let's say you have a listing and you've got your phone number out on the listing, right? Your sign writer, it's got the, call for more information or something. So somebody calls, you can set this thing up so that it says, if you'd like information about this property, press 1. If you'd like to speak to this agent, press 2. If you'd like to be sent a text message with the flyer for this property, press 3. If you'd like to, make an offer, press 4. Like, you can make it do whatever you want. You can have it send auto text messages for you. You get a bunch of different phone numbers. Like, this is literally a phone system for your business. If I was running a real estate brokerage or even a team right now, I would absolutely have Better Voicemail. Some of the biggest teams in the country are running on Better Voicemail. The Wise team, are you guys familiar with Christina Wise out of Austin, Texas? They're doing a couple hundred transactions a year. They run their entire team's business off of Better Voicemail, right? It can do things like, somebody calls in off of your sign, right? You don't want to do the phone tree thing. You want to just send them to a live person. It can ring you for 5 seconds. It can ring your buyer's agent for 5 seconds. It can ring your admin for 5 seconds. It can literally do all of the things that when we had our real estate brokerage, we used a company man. If I could find Echelon Telecom, like if I ran across somebody like at a restaurant who worked for Echelon Telecom, they would get like a half hour of my frustration over what we paid and the service that we got from our phone provider. Like, we paid so much money to have this phone service that now today you can do through things like Better Voicemail. And this thing can run you anywhere from like $8 a month up to like their premium package is like $80 a month. But that one comes with tons of phone numbers that you can use for different things. And they've got a lot of variety in here in terms of price points. And it does all the same stuff that this auto SMS does. Okay, it does the automatic replies. You can set up text messages for the future. You can respond with text when you miss a phone call. It will do all of those things and a whole host of other things that are designed for a real estate agent's business. So if you thought like, oh yeah, I might use this one because it's free, you should seriously consider like, what is your strategy in your business for phone calls? And there's so many companies out there that help you kind of, you've got the lead generation companies that help you figure out how to generate leads. You got the CRM companies that help you figure out how to manage your leads. Better Voicemail helps you figure out how to manage your phone. And again, these big teams are using this thing because it's really, really effective for like your signs, or when, like, let's say you have an ad, or you're doing stuff on Zillow, right? You've got an ad running in Zillow, and like, you want to be able to personalize that incoming phone call, because if it comes off of your Zillow ad, right, it might be a different message than if it came in from one of your sign calls, or if it came in from your ActiveRain blog, or if it came in from your Trulia, or if it came in from your own website, right? All of these are places where you could have a different message set up for the phone number that you're using in that location. Better Voicemail, if you guys don't have a good, like, if you're just using the voicemail on your phone, this is even Chris Smith. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chris Smith. He's kind of a tech guru in this space. Like, he says this is Google Voice on steroids, and it's really applicable to a real estate agent's business. Okay, so this is the last app we're going to talk about. I think I saved the best one for last, at least for me, in terms of, does it solve a need? Yes. Is it something that you could easily adopt into your business and it would save you time and potentially even make you more efficient? I think the answer is yes. And like, if all of us looked at ourselves like, could we use this? The answer is yes. Now, the one caveat here is it only works with the iPad. Okay? It's $14.99, but it basically allows you to generate leads and then communicate with those leads that come in from an open house. So how are you guys doing this right now? So I called my friend Ben Kinney, right? And for me, if you're not familiar or never heard me talk about Ben, he's an agent in Bellingham, Washington. In Washington, it's a small little town. His team does like 500 transactions a year, and they've really gotten this automated process set up for every aspect of their business. So I called him when I'm looking at this Open House Pro, and I said, hey, Ben, what are you doing for your open houses? And he told me he was kind of sheepish in his admission. He goes, yeah, we're still using paper. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we just have a sign-in sheet and people sign it. And I'm like, all right, well, like, is it one sign-in sheet where you hand to each person? And he said, no, it's just one big sign-in sheet and everybody signs the same one. He's like, we're even kind of sneaky. We'll put 5 or 10 names on there before we even get started to make it look like people are signing this to get other people to sign it up. And I thought that was a pretty good idea. But OpenHome Pro on your iPad allows you to ask questions of somebody. Okay, so they come in, you can ask as many or as few questions as you want. They've got some kind of default questions set up, right? But it just allows you to keep track of those people that come into your open house. Once you're done with the so they come in, they sign it up, right? What it does then is on a little bit of a delay, it will automatically send them out an email thanking them for having been at this open house. And as a part of that email, it will send out the details on the house. Now, you have to fill this information in for each of your open houses. It doesn't take that long, right? We pull in our 10 pictures, we write our little description, we give the general synopsis of the house. When they leave, though, they're going to get an email that says, hey, thanks for coming to the open house. Here's all the details, right? It saves you from having to hand out the flyers there, right? That could be a reason you get them to sign up. Hey, when you leave, we don't have flyers here. We're a environmentally friendly company, but when you leave, we'll send you a flyer for the house. It also allows you, and I think this is kind of a cool feature, it will send out a message to everybody that came to your open house if you do a price drop in the future. So the open house, you're holding it's at $275, doesn't get sold. 2 weeks later, you drop the price to $265, right? It will notify everybody that walked through that house that there was just a price drop on this home. You can also take the leads out of here and export them to your CRM. So you got 12 leads at your open house today. You want to make sure that you get these people followed up with, right? They already got an email thanking them for being out there. You can now take this as a CSV file, and it might take a little bit of manipulation from the fields in order to convert it into your CRM. And it works pretty seamlessly with Top Producer. But any CRM that allows you to import leads from a CSV file, this is going to allow you to export them to that. How many of you guys would use this? How many of you guys are using something like this? There's not a lot out there that's like this one. So let me go back. There's a couple of questions in here. Better voice, how much is it? I mentioned it. It ranges from $8 to like $80 a month, and they've got some different plans based on how many phone lines you want, the volume of your calls that you would expect, some stuff like that. So Bauman says he uses OpenHome Manager.us. He says it's an internet-based tool that does much, much, much more. One of the things I like about this OpenHome Pro, and look, so Bauman mentioned OpenHome Manager.us as a tool that he uses that he says a little bit more comprehensive than this. I had this conversation yesterday, so I showed this thing to my friend, and I said, look, you're coming into an open house. I'm the agent. What would you think about this? And her first response was, what happens if 10 people walk into the open house at the same time? Like, you only have one iPad. What are you going to do? I didn't necessarily have an answer for that. Like, on a sheet of paper, they'd still kind of stand in a line. The questions make it easy enough that somebody could fill this thing out in, 20 seconds, 30 seconds maybe. Maybe you're even filling it out for them if you were kind of better at typing on your iPad. But that might be a problem, right? So then her next question was, well, what are the questions? And so the first set of questions that they have are, what's your name? What's your email address? What's your phone number? And how soon are you looking to move, or something like that? And she goes, well, to me, like, those questions stink, right? I'd want to know that as an agent that you're really interested in what my needs are, as opposed to just generating a lead for yourself and for your business. And I think as agents, we're always kind of have that balance, right? So she said, I'd be more inclined to want to answer these questions if I felt like answering them was going to help me, right? So the questions become something like, if a new listing becomes available in this neighborhood, would you like to be notified, right? Like, to me, that's permission for you to set them up on a drip campaign that sends them new listings when they hit the market. What's the most important thing you're looking for in a house, right? That might be a question that you would ask somebody that gets them to feel like filling this out is helping you help me. So let's see. Kirk says OpenHome Pro is interesting, but I'm a bit nervous about handling an iPad at a busy open house. I get 30 to 50 on a Saturday or Sunday in our hot market. Any strategy for keeping it from walking away? Kirk, we do trade shows, right? Market Leader, ActiveRain, we'll go out and do trade shows, and we use iPads as a way for people to get downloads or things like that. One of the things, so we use this stand, and I guess granted somebody could walk off with the stand, but it'd make it a little bit harder than just walking off with the iPad. The stand's like $50, and it's a pretty good sturdy stand that you could use for something like this. From a time-saving perspective, like if you are just using the sheet, right, what ends up happening at the end of the day is somebody has to take those names and email addresses and notes that were on that sheet and put them into your CRM, or at least transcribe them somehow, and you end up losing a couple of phone numbers because you can't read what the number said, or a couple of names because people's handwriting's sloppy. Now you can, Bauman says OpenHouse Manager.us asks all these questions. You can create OpenHome Pro to ask whatever questions you want, right? And you might be one of those people that says, look, I don't want to bother people with 15 questions. I just want to get their contact information so I can follow up with them, right? Maybe yours is 3 questions: name, email address, phone number. Yeah, Kirk says, yeah, the stands look nice. Like they look, they're sleek and they look like an iPad's supposed to go in them because it is, right? So yeah, that's definitely a thing. How many of you guys actually have iPads? Check in from me real quick. How many of you guys are using iPads, or if you're not, are you using tablets? Yeah, so a bunch of you guys do use an iPad. Look, for $14.99, like this thing is worth, I think anyway, if you have an iPad for $14.99, it's worth giving a shot to this at your next open house, or maybe checking out OpenHouseManager.us that Bauman was mentioning. Okay, so that's their list of apps. Look, there's probably 2 or 3 in here that you should at least give a shot to, right? If you're not using Evernote and you're keeping notes on sticky pads still, you might give Evernote a shot. Like Taskrabbit for me is one I'm definitely going to use. Taskrabbit. I want to see how much of the menial things I do during my day I can take off of my plate. OpenHome Pro, if you're doing open houses, you might as well give something like this a shot, right? I really love it. And OpenHouseManager.us probably does the same thing, but I love that ability to let people who've walked through this house know that the price dropped. That's a big deal, right? I mean, that could potentially lead to somebody reaching back out to you and saying, hey, we weren't interested at $275, but we're interested at $260. All right, let's do a quick recap on all of these. And you guys can get this list. Right now, Carrie's going to send you out the link where you can download this list. Grab that download. If it's got these apps in it, it's got some other stuff in it too. My favorite part of that download is actually the Craigslist section that's in there. And if you're doing anything on Craigslist, there's some really good advice in there about like ad headlines for Craigslist, some copy, like what are some of the things you should be putting in your Craigslist ads, how often should you be running Craigslist ads. There's some great information in that download about Craigslist ads, right? Totally off the subject of 8 time-saving apps, but the idea of the download was there's a bunch of kind of info in there that you can help and some helpful little hints and tips. So AnyDo is the first one, right? Part task manager, part to-do list. You got your RE calculator. You've got Evernote, right? The ultimate notebook. You can keep everything organized, especially if you do your tags well. Taskrabbit allows you to find somebody, and especially if it's in one of these cities, to do anything for you. But if it's not in one of those cities, any kind of remote tasks that you might have that somebody could take off of your plate. CamScanner, and again on Taskrabbit, you set the price, right? So you can try to get this stuff for really cheap. You might not get any rabbits willing to do it for you. CamScanner, right? Create PDFs from our smartphone. PDF Expert, which allows us to do anything with PDFs on the go. And then Auto SMS, which maybe better voicemail is a better option for this. Allows you to really automate the response on text or missed phone calls, or really phone calls in general. And then OpenHome Pro, which allows you to be a little bit more efficient, generate leads, not have to transcribe those things, be able to communicate with those people on your open houses. All right, there's their apps. There's what we think of them. There's what you think of them. You guys have an awesome Friday, a great weekend in real estate. My name is Bob Stewart. Maybe we'll see you again real soon at ActiveRain University. Until then, bye-bye, everybody.